Good evening, I'm Kay. I'm really glad to see you again. Before the class, let me tell you something. It is said that practice makes perfect, which means practice plays an important role in making your English fluent. So that is why it's really important for you to practice by yourself. So after taking my class, after listening to me, you have to just solve as many problems as possible with your own textbook. Do you know what I mean? Okay, if you don't have anything to say, then let's get started. Today we are going to talk about causative verb make, have, let. You have to use make, have, let only in the sentence that is composed of subject, verb, object, complement. Before we tackle today's grammatical point, let's find out what part of speech we can use in the place of the complement. Look at this. We, just like the subject, just like the case of a subject and the object, we can have a noun, pronoun, gerund, infinitive, and conjunction that, whether plus complete sentence, and relative what plus incomplete sentence. You have to get rid of either subject or object, and WH question plus complete sentence or incomplete sentence, depending on the situation. In addition to these things, there's one more thing you can use as complement, that is adjective. Adjective can be complement as well. Look at this sentence. Jane made him clean the room. In this sentence, we have Jane as subject and made verb, and him is object, and clean the room is complement in this sentence. But as you can see, there's something weird. Why do they have clean, the verb, in the place of the complement? As you can see, there's no verb on the list of the complement. Why do they have just clean, the verb, in the place of the complement? Why is it that? So let me explain that. Look at this. When you want people to do something you want them to do, then there are so many words you can use, such as ask, encourage, force, make, have, let, get, allow. There are so many words you can use. So let me give you some examples. I ask participants to fill out the form. I encourage my student to do their best. I force my student to finish the homework given to them by me. Like this, we usually use infinitive in the place of the complement when we make somebody do something. But when you have make, have, let causative verb, then it has different story. Look at this. When you have make, have, let, like this, they have special ability to cover and hide these two from infinitive. They have the ability to make it invisible. So that is why only thing we can see is verb. So that is why you can see clean. I mean, this clean is not a verb, but a complement. So we have two here, but we couldn't see this two because of the verb made. And we have two here, but we couldn't see this two because of the verb have. There was two here, but we couldn't see it because the verb make, have, let. Do you know what I mean? This grammatical point and this concept is really important when you are trying to convert active voice into passive voice, right? So let me explain that. I believe you know how to make a change of sentence from active voice to passive voice, right? You know that. You know how to do that, right? No? Then, okay, let me explain it briefly. So look at this. When you have the sentence that is composed of subject, verb, object, this one is active voice. And we have to turn it into passive voice. The first thing you have to do is object should be subject. This is number one. And number two is verb is going to be changed into be verb plus past participle. And number three is subject should be situated at the end of the sentence in the form of by plus proposition by plus object. This is number three. But this subject can be omitted when this subject can be omitted when the subject is ordinary people, or when the subject is the person anybody knows, or when the subject is obvious to listener and speaker. In this kind of case, just by plus object can be omitted. Okay, then let's apply this principle to this sentence that is composed of subject, verb, object, complement. As you can see, this one is active voice. Active voice. So we have to turn it into passive voice. And number one is object should be subject like this. And number two is verb should be be verb plus past participle. Then what is the past participle of the verb make? Made. So be made. And what is the past participle of the verb have? Had. P had. And P led. Led. Present tense, past tense, and past participle, they are all the same. Led. So among these, you should be careful. Among these, only be made make sense, and the rest of them don't exist. There's no such a thing. So be made is possible. Only be made is possible. So just be careful. And this is number two. And number three is subject should be situated at the end of the sentence. So subject should be situated at the end of the sentence in the form of a by plus object like this. And what about this one? What shall we do with this complement? We have to rewrite this complement following the verb. But be careful, when you rewrite this complement, infinitive, you have to revive to verb. You have to make it this to visible again. This is really important key point. The reason is that when you write the sentence in the active form, the verb has an influence on object in the complement, but when you write the sentence in the passive form, the verb should influence the subject, not complement an object. So that is why you have to revive to again. This is really important key point. So let's practice it with the sentence. Look at this. Jane made him clean the room. This one is active form. And let's turn it into passive form. The number one, the object should be subject. He. And number two, verb is going to be changed into be verb plus past participle. But when you do that, just tense should be the same. So this one is past tense, so you have to write be verb in the past tense. Was made, like this. This is number two. And number three is subject should be situated at the end of the sentence. So Jane, by Jane, like this. And what about this complement? You have to rewrite this complement following the verb, but as I said earlier, you have to revive to again. You have to make it visible again. So to clean the room, like this, you have to make it visible again. This is really important grammatical key point. Do you know what I mean? Okay? Okay, this is really important. This is the most important thing for today's class. Okay, before the class, let me tell you one more thing. So listen carefully. Look at this. When you have the sentence that is composed of subject, verb, object, complement, you have to pay attention to the relation between object and the complement. When you have the sentence that is made up of subject, verb, object, complement, then you have to focus on, you have to pay attention to the relation between object and the complement. When the relation between them is active, I mean object is doing the action, then you have to write this verb in the place of a complement, which means infinitive without to. As I said earlier, when you have make, have, lab, causative verb. But when you realize the relation between object, the complement, when you realize the relation between object, the complement, passive, then you have to write past participle in the place of the complement instead of verb, no matter what verb you have. No matter what kind of verb you have to use a past participle in the place of the complement. Okay, let's solve just two problems. Look at this. Jane made him blank the room. Jane made of computer blank. In this sentence, Jane is subject and made is verb, object, complement. Subject, verb, object, complement. You have to pay attention to the relation between object and the complement. Look at this. He is cleaning the room. He's doing the action. So that is why the relation between them is active. So that is why the correct answer is clean, like this. But when you see this sentence, you can realize that the relation between object, the complement, is passive. Computer is not fixing, computer is fixed. So the relation between object, the complement, is passive. So that is why the correct answer is fixed, like this. Do you know what I mean? Okay. It's time to let you go. So as I said earlier, just keep practicing, and just until next time, just bye-bye.